Welcome back to the Foltz Fitness Podcast. This is episode 2, and we're going to be diving into my fitness background and my journey throughout high school and college, and basically up to where I am today. I am, again, joined by my wife, Lily.
Hey, guys.
So we're going to dive deep into my background and kind of how I got into ultra running. I've always been into fitness ever since about junior year of high school. I was a competitive athlete in high school. I played golf at a small school in Ohio, and I got into weight training the winter of my junior year, and I really took it pretty seriously all the way through my senior year, really. We had a group of guys that would get up and go to the gym pretty much regularly at 5 a.m. during the weekdays. We'd lift at a local YMCA. I'll shout out those guys, Abe Cunningham, Jacob Emmerine, and Kevin Beal. We had a really tight-knit relationship, and that's kind of how my love for fitness started, and it was mainly because of those guys, really. We got along really well. We had common goals, and we pushed each other every morning to be our best, and we really didn't do any form of cardio. We really despised cardio a little bit, which is kind of ironic. Especially where I am at now and all the running and races that I've done. But we really did a lot of strength training, and I actually think it did a lot of positive things for me as I got and progressed into running. So that was kind of our thing. We would go to the Y in the mornings, get a lift in for an hour and a half, and then we'd head off to school. So after my high school days were over, I transitioned into college, and I played college golf at the University of Findlay, a small D2 school in Ohio. And I actually ended up playing there for 5 years because of COVID. They gave us an extra year to participate in sports because we missed the season. So I played 5 years of collegiate golf there. And I kind of let my fitness and health slip by the wayside a little bit, and it really wasn't intentional in any way. Life just got busy, and college was more convenient to go eat out with my friends and do those different things on the weekends, and we were really more focused on having a good time than we were about our health and fitness. And Lily can kind of add to that. She was a big part of my college journey. We've been together since high school. Since I was a sophomore, she was a freshman. Mm-hmm. And she's been with me pretty much every step of the way. So she can kind of comment on how things transitioned from that senior year of high school where I was so into fitness, weight training, and then it kind of slipped by the wayside.
Yeah, I think in high school, your friends truly held each other accountable. I think that's definitely what helps getting up at 5 a.m. every morning. I don't see myself doing that. So credit to you guys at that time of life. But throughout college, we definitely had different priorities then. As we continued to transition throughout our own relationship, I feel like our goals and priorities have changed so much. I think now we're definitely in the right headspace, and we have a different focus on life. I think that we're prioritizing our health and fitness with the intent of living a longer, healthier life, which can easily slip away when you're in college. I'm still in college, and I know the feeling of stress, anxiety, and your mental health definitely takes a toll throughout those years. For those that go to college and to those going into the workforce, you run into the same thing. You start your daily 9-to-5 job or whatever hours you're working. And it's important to think about where you see yourself in the future and starting to make those transitions now in life rather than paying the tolls later.
Yeah, when I made my transition, it was my final year of college, which would have been my 5th year. So I remember the day. It was December 19th of 2022. And I literally just looked in the mirror and was like looking at myself, and I just said, enough's enough. Like, we have to make a positive change and just really just flip life upside down and just do things differently. And I don't really know why that happened. Like I said, I literally looked in the mirror one morning and just said, something's got to change. And from that day, like my life has been completely different. December 20th, I set out and started this journey. I started going to the gym every day again, back to the same gym that we spent all that time in high school. And then on top of that, I just started running. I had no idea anything about running, anything about heart rate zone training, any of that. Like I just got on the treadmill and was like, I'm going to run hard and I'm going to run as fast as I can. And I was really only ever able to run a mile to 2 miles max at a time. I really just had no clue exactly what I was doing. I always ran super hard and I didn't really have a plan. I just knew I wanted to see body fat decrease and I wanted to see the number on the scale go down. And we achieved that goal. I mean, I lost 30 pounds and I think it would have been about 2.5 months. So that was my goal. I wanted to lose 30 pounds before we started our spring golf season. I hit that goal and it probably wasn't the healthiest way to do things. I was in a severe calorie deficit. I was very low on energy and I never felt very good throughout those 2 to 3 months. And Lily can definitely vouch a little bit for that. And I think it's important that when you go into these body fat loss programs and things that you're getting enough calories and being able to support your daily energy levels.
I think that's something that we definitely focus on now more than we did back in the moment. Eating 3 balanced, full nutritional meals is something that comes naturally nowadays. I feel like we eat really well at least 6 days a week. We might get the occasional pizza on a Friday night, which is quite nice. But
you have to do that because you have to be balanced.
Life is definitely all about balance. And coming from a perspective now, even just thinking back to our diet in college, there was no doubt that we were going to be sluggish every day and gain weight because we weren't exercising. We were eating crap takeout food every day. There was no goal in sight there. And definitely seeing Hunter go through that transition was very inspiring and made me feel a sense of control over my own life, knowing that if you want to see that change, all you have to do is do it. You have no other excuse but yourself to fight. You have to find the drive to get up every day and get done what needs to get done.
Another thing I like what you said there is just getting out and doing it, because the fact of the matter is we control like everything we put into our body. Like we have control over how we're fueling, how we're eating, how we're living on a daily basis. And I just think that being a little bit more aware of what you're eating and a little bit more aware of how much physical exercise you're doing. And I think people get the wrong idea sometimes when we're talking about exercise. Like I've done ultras, I've ran marathons, done these different things. And people are like, well, I could never do that. But that's not what we're saying. Like just going out for a 30-minute walk or a 20-minute walk when you have time, like that's sufficient exercise. And that's doing more than what you were doing before, which is all that really matters in the long run, is just getting out and moving your body. Because if you don't move it, you're going to lose it, as the old saying goes.
Yeah, society today really recognizes even just a short walk after dinner each night is beneficial to your body. It's any form of movement is really great. I know there's moms out there that don't have time with moms and dads, families, and nobody can really find the time to drive to the gym, spend 30 minutes at the gym, and come back home, get the kids to school. Like, I understand that life is really crazy for most people out there, but even to the parents out there, they have the time, they're picking up the kid, setting him back down on the ground. That's a form of exercise, believe it or not. Some kids are getting pretty big and they can get pretty heavy. So Whether that's doing an extra crunch every time you pick up something off the ground, or an extra set of push-ups or something, any form of movement really. You can start to dance if you put on a music video on the TV. Just have a dance party with the family. Really just prioritizing movement daily is key.
YouTube can definitely be your best friend because there is plenty of 10 and 15-minute body workouts that you can easily pull up on YouTube and follow along to. And it's actually how I do some of my mobility and stretching routines is I'll get on and find like a 10-minute runner stretch routine, and I'll just run through it, follow it step by step, and just get a good stretch that way. So definitely using YouTube and your resources can be beneficial in just getting that extra movement in.
I know that as someone who doesn't like prioritize going to the gym, but when I do, I feel lost. Those YouTube videos are extremely helpful in guiding a successful workout. I don't always know like what proper form is or what would be appropriate stretch or exercise to focus on this muscle. And YouTube can really prioritize like full body workouts or upper arm workouts. I found YouTube very beneficial in that aspect as well.
Yes, and other than just YouTube, when you go into the gym, like don't be afraid to like ask somebody, because everybody in there is rooting for each other. You'll rarely find somebody that is not polite in the gym. Most people are very approachable. You can ask them any questions on any exercise, form. Everybody's willing to help out. So don't be afraid to go up to somebody and ask them what they're doing, what's that workout hitting, where am I supposed to feel it at? Ask if you need a spotter, like just things like that. People will help you in the gym because they're all rooting for you, and we're all working towards the same thing when we go in there. So now, kind of getting back to the fitness journey, since we are now running ultra marathons and marathons and things like that, I kind of want to discuss kind of my race journey and how that came about. So after I lost that weight and went in, we played our spring golf season. I lost those 30 pounds in about 3 months, which was, like I said, a little aggressive. But we played our season, and my career came to an end in May. And then I decided that I was really enjoying running, and I wanted to sign up for my first race. So I signed up for a race called the Akron Trail Marathon. I enjoyed running trails more than roads, which is kind of ironic because I train 90% of the time on the roads rather than trails, just because they're that much easier to access and you don't really have to drive anywhere. I can go out my front door and run. But I signed up for this Akron Trail Marathon. I trained from May till July. It was on July 16th of 2023. So that was the first race that I ever ran. I think I ran it in 4 hours and 21 minutes, 4 hours and 20 minutes. And it had over 2,000 feet of elevation gain. So that was a very cool experience. And I caught the racing bug immediately after that race. Lily was there to crew for that race, and we just had a great time. The race director and the race was run very well, and we just fell in love with the running community, and specifically the trail running community.
Yeah, I can't really speak on the running community itself yet. I do plan on getting into a couple more races within the next year. As far as the crew aspect, I've been a part of every race along the way. At every single race, the crew is the best. I've had no complaints of anybody that we've ever ran into at any race. Everybody is there supporting the same goal of getting their runner across the finish line. And it's just a great community.
I don't think you really got a taste of what crewing is like at the first race. It was a little bit more moderate. There was like 2 spots she could see me. It was a marathon, so it was pretty well self-supported. There wasn't a lot of need for extra aid, with it being a marathon, even though it was on trails. But I think you saw a little bit more of the crew aspect when we got to the second race that I did, which was a 50K. So the second race I did was a 50K, and it was also in the Akron area, actually ran by the same race director that did the trail marathon. So we finished that trail marathon in July, and then we started 50K prep in late August, and that race was in late November. So just the week before Thanksgiving, actually. So I think Lily got a lot more of the crewing aspect when we moved to that 50K, even though it was a 5-mile loop course and we repeated the loop. She still got a little more of that kind of pit stop aspect. And it was definitely a different experience from the trail marathon. But again, we loved the people, and I was still itching to continue increasing distance. I love running long distance. It's really what gives me the most joy when it comes to my running. So after we wrapped that up, we took some time off, and we kind of moved into the holiday season, and we actually got married in December. So we had some trips planned, and we went to Mexico after our wedding, and we spent the first week in January in Cancun, actually. So that was a very much needed break from fitness activities and running. And then once we got back from that, we were pretty much in run mode again. And I had signed up for the Toledo Marathon, the Glass City Marathon in Toledo, Ohio. And I set out with a goal to run a sub 3:30 marathon. We documented that whole prep on YouTube, and we released a race day video on that. We ran that race on April 28th, and we hit our sub 3:30 goal. We ran 3:26 at that marathon, and it was our first road race, actually. So it was a lot different when it comes to crewing and things like that. You really didn't get to see me much in that race.
Yeah, so that race was kind of a loss for the crew. We ended up parking in a parking lot pretty close to the start line, and we got out, set you out on the course, let everybody out on the course, and we went to go to the first aid station, and we couldn't get out of the parking lot. So we were stuck at the start and finish line for the next couple hours until you finished.
But the good news is about road marathons is there's water stops about every 2 miles. So I was able to, I really wasn't depending on them for fuel or anything. I had all my gels on me.
Thankfully.
And I was going to use all of the courses, water and electrolytes. So we ran that race. It was actually very warm out that day. All of training obviously was over the winter. So we were training in cold weather. And then we got to the race day, and it was like 62 degrees and humid. And it actually rained on us and thunderstormed at the finish. So we got wet, and it was humid. So going into that race, we were a little bit concerned with the temperatures after training all winter in the cold. We really weren't used to any type of humidity or heat yet. So once we got into that race, we settled into a good pace, and we really ran sub 3:30 pretty easily. It wasn't too strenuous or anything. And I had already signed up for another race prior to the Glass City, which was the Mohican 50 miler. Mohican puts on a great race. This was by far the best race that we'd been to yet. They put on a 100 miler, a 50 miler, and a marathon, and it's all on trails. It's a loop course. The 50 miler consists of one big loop and one small loop, and the 100 miler is obviously two big loops and two small loops. So, and the marathon is just one singular big loop, and I believe the big loop is slightly over a marathon. It was like 27 some odd miles, something like that. But that is where Lily got a big taste of what crewing is like, driving around to different checkpoints and really having to focus on what I needed, what I was fueling with, and refilling my pack at all stops.
Yeah, crewing at that race was quite different than anything else before. I thankfully had my mom to help me with crewing at this race, and crewing alone is very difficult. So anybody who has additional support, I would definitely seek their help. It doesn't seem like a very daunting task, but those 5 minutes that they're at the aid station, refueling water, eating snacks, drinking, all of that on top of videoing for content that we were doing was quite a challenge. And thankfully I had the support to get through that.
Yeah, I would say that aid stations are quite chaotic, actually,
Yes.
to put it lightly. There is a lot of moving parts and a lot of things that you don't normally think about that you need when you go into these aid stations. And Mohican is where we really caught the bug for ultra running. The trails were unreal. Like I said, the race was put on so well. The race director has been there for a long time, and that race is actually one of the oldest races in the United States. So it's a Western States qualifier. It's a really good race, and I will definitely be going back to Mohican. The trails are kept up super well, and the views all day were incredible. I mean, you're running on these big ridge sides. Sometimes you get up on top, and there's a couple of pretty big climbs in there. But it was just a great day and a great way to really get introduced into trail running and ultra running, more so than the 50K and the trail marathon did for us. But we are now looking towards the East Fork 100. We're actually heading out there in a couple days to run the East Fork 100. It'll be our first 100-miler, and it's going to be epic. So that's kind of an overview of our fitness journey and kind of our journey together. Lily's seen me in all of these different phases, so she can comment on pretty much all of it because she's been there through all of it, and she'll continue to do that. And she's also got some races of her own coming up. What are you running?
The Columbus Half in October. That'll be the longest race I've done so far. I have so far completed a couple 5Ks and one 10K we did together.
Oh, that's right. We ran a July 4th 10K
Yes.
up in Toledo.
Toledo as well. That was quite fun. I have only ever done road races, so I haven't experienced the trail bug that Hunter's got, but maybe someday.
Do you want to run on the trails?
I don't know. I maybe. I don't know. I
It's
gotta
more
try
fun. So we want to thank you for listening to episode 2 and actually our first real episode on the podcast. Like we said, we're going to be releasing multiple more episodes, and we just want to take you along on this fitness journey and just give you some insight into what we're doing in our lives, and hopefully shed some light onto how you can start your fitness journey or apply some of the things that we have to help us get to where we are today. So you can check us out at my Instagram, Hunter Foltz 1, or you can visit our YouTube and check out what we've done on YouTube at Foltz Fitness. And we hope to see you on those platforms soon. Be sure to leave us a podcast review and give us any comments or suggestions on upcoming episodes or anything like that. I'm Hunter Foltz, and we'll see you in the next one.